If you're considering moving to Fargo, North Dakota, or anywhere in the surrounding area, there's a very good chance Horace has already come up either in conversations, listings, or opinions you've heard online. Horace sits just south, or more accurately southwest of Fargo. It's close enough that commuting is easy, but far enough that it feels like its own place. And over the last several years, it's gone from being a small, quiet community to one of the fastest growing and most talked about cities in the Fargo metro. Growth like that raises questions, and those questions usually sound like this. Is Horace worth it? Is the growth a good thing or a headache? And is it somewhere I'd actually be happy living day to day? People tend to have strong feelings about Horace. And today, I want to help you decide whether this city actually makes sense for you, not just whether it looks good on paper. If this is your first time to the channel, make sure to subscribe and tap the bell for notifications so you're the first to know about all things going on in and around Fargo, North Dakota. I'm Megan Oye with Realty Experts, and every day I talk to people just like you. So whether you're 9 days, 90 days, or 9 months from your move to or around Fargo, North Dakota, I'm here to help make that a smooth transition. All of my contact information is listed in the description below. Feel free to reach out in whatever way is most comfortable for you. To understand Horace now, it helps to understand where it came from. Horace's story goes back to the early settlement of the Red River Valley. According to the city of Horace, the first settlers arrived in the area in 1871, and the city was officially founded in 1882. Horace was named after Horace Greeley, an American publisher, founder, and editor of the New York Tribune, which became the highest circulating newspaper in the country. Greeley was also a political figure who strongly encouraged westward expansion. If you've ever heard the phrase, "Go west, young man," that sentiment is closely tied to him, which feels fitting, considering Horace is still expanding well over a century later. Horace also has some small-town fun facts that locals love, like how Horace is home to what is believed to be the only street in the United States named after Mickey Mouse, Mickey Mouse Avenue. Apparently, the story goes that in the 1960s, a developer became completely fed up with how difficult the subdivision process was. When it came time to submit a street name, legend says he responded, "I don't care what you name it, call it Mickey Mouse for all I care," and then he promptly went to the bar. Now, let's talk about the rapid growth Horace has experienced from 2020 to 2025, because this is where the decision really starts to matter. According to the US Census estimates, in 2020, Horace's population was around 3,085 people. By mid-2025, estimates put the population at well over 6,000 residents, more than double in just 5 years. That's not gradual growth. That's an explosion of people, homes, and change in a very short amount of time. Because the growth happened so quickly, for a while it really felt like two different Horaces. There was what longtime residents still call Old Horace, the quiet, small-town community people first fell in love with. And then there was this new Horace, where construction crews, new roads, and expanding neighborhoods became the norm, seemingly overnight. The pace of change brought growing pains, and it's completely understandable why people who loved the original feel of the community would push back against more development. When your population more than doubles in a few years, that's a lot for any small city to absorb, emotionally and financially. So, why has Horace grown so quickly? In my opinion, a huge part of it comes down to land availability and new construction. For many years now, our market has been a real hotbed for new construction homes, especially custom and semi-custom homes. Builders needed places where development could continue at scale, and Horace had the land to support that. As Fargo and West Fargo have expanded, the amount of easily developable land has become more limited. That naturally pushed development outward. Now, to be clear, there is still land being developed in Fargo and parts of West Fargo, but at some point, growth had to continue somewhere, and Horace was simply the next logical place where large-scale residential developments could happen. That overflow wasn't accidental. It was the result of demand meeting available space. Another big reason people were drawn to Horace is the small town feel. For a long time, there actually weren't many housing options there. So a lot of people may not have seriously considered it. Over the last 5 years especially, that's changed dramatically. New, higher-end residential developments have given buyers real options, and those options have made Horace feel attainable in a way it hadn't before. Schools have also played a role. Horace has newer school facilities and, at least historically, somewhat smaller class sizes, which is something families pay close attention to with the overall growth in Fargo and the surrounding areas. And finally, there's just a general trend we see everywhere. People often want a bit more distance from a city center. As downtown Fargo has grown and changed, many people have preferred living slightly farther out, where things feel quieter and more residential. All of that history and growth is important. But if you're watching this video, you're probably less concerned with dates and more concerned with what your life would actually look like here. And for most people, that starts with the housing, the price points, and the neighborhood. As of today, in February of 2026, there are 106 homes actively listed for sale in Horace. Price ranges from about $265,000 on the low end up to roughly $1.4 million on the high end. What's really telling is the age of those homes. Out of all 106 listings, only 4 were built prior to the year 2000. And the overwhelming majority were built between 2020 and 2025. That alone paints a clear picture of what Horace's housing market looks like right now. It's heavily weighted toward newer construction and recently developed neighborhoods. It's also worth noting that those classic 1960s and 1970s homes filled with character do still exist in Horace, but they don't come up for sale nearly as often. Because of that, the market right now is heavily saturated with new construction. If you're someone who really wants an older home with more character, charm, and established surroundings, Horace can still be a great option. You just need to pay closer attention to the market and be ready to act quickly when one of those homes becomes available. Something else worth noting is that the starting price point we talked about, around $265,000, is actually for a newly built home. That often surprises people, because new construction in our area can be relatively reasonable from a purchase price standpoint. Where things differ most with new construction isn't usually the base price of the home. It's how the special assessments show up on the property. In newer neighborhoods, you'll typically see a larger balance of special assessments, and that's because those homes are helping fund the brand new infrastructure within that development. Streets, utilities, other neighborhood improvements. In more established neighborhoods, those special assessment amounts are generally lower and easier to absorb, because the major infrastructure has already been in place for decades. At that point, the cost tends to be more about maintenance or broader citywide projects rather than improvements tied directly to one specific neighborhood. Rather than getting deep into the weeds here, I've done a full separate video that breaks this down in much more detail and explains how special assessments specifically affect Horace. It's called Fargo Area Special Assessments Explained. There's a little bit of drama around the topic because there always is, but it's mostly just facts, and it's definitely worth watching if new construction is on your radar. New construction in Horace isn't happening in just one area. Development is spread across multiple neighborhoods, including Cub Creek, Lost River, Maple Lake Estates, Terra Gardens, River's Edge, and Sunset Valley. Together, these neighborhoods make up a large portion of Horace's newer housing inventory. To make this more concrete, let's look at one example. Southdale Farms represents what a lot of buyers are seeing on the market right now, with a mix of homes across different price points, available lots, and a noticeable share of the current listings in Horace. Southdale Farms tends to fall into a more entry-level range for new construction homes in Horace, which is one of the reasons it appeals to so many buyers. Current price ranges are from $265,000 to $385,000. And the homes here are primarily single-family residences with attached 2-stall garages. This is mainly due to the lot size and the overall flow of the neighborhood. There are several different builders actively building in this development, so buyers aren't locked into just one style or approach. You'll see a variety of floor plans and finish packages, depending on the builder and how customized you want to be. You'll find multiple move-in ready options in Southdale Farms, but there are also still lots available, which makes this a good option for someone who wants to customize a build from the ground up rather than purchase something already completed. Now, let's talk about what Horace actually feels like when you're driving through it, because this is where things start to click for a lot of people. Most of Horace's everyday activity is centered along Main Street, which runs north and south throughout the center of town. So you're driving through, you get a pretty good sense of how it functions fairly quickly. You'll notice that the commercial presence here isn't overwhelming. It's practical and built around daily needs rather than big retail hubs. As you drive, you'll pass places like the Grove Coffee and Wine, which is a popular daytime coffee stop and an evening wine spot, and the Horace headquarters, a popular locally owned dining and entertainment venue. You'll also see longtime staples like Big Irv's, a bar and grill known for its American comfort food, wings, burgers, and signature mac and cheese. Mixed in with those are everyday services, Explorers Academy, Kid Ventures, Five Salon, and healthcare access through Sanford Health Clinic and the Medicine Shop Pharmacy. Convenience stores like Circle K and Casey's fill in the gaps for gas, food, and quick stops. None of these are flashy, but together they create a town that actually works day to day. One thing people often ask about is groceries. While Horace doesn't currently have a full grocery store within the city limits, Hornbacher's is just a short drive into Fargo, and it's where most residents do their main shopping. It's close enough that it doesn't feel inconvenient, it just feels like part of the normal routine. What really surprises most people though is how close the schools are to everything else. Horace is served by West Fargo Public Schools, and all three schools that serve the community are clustered relatively close together. Horace Elementary School, Heritage Middle School, and Horace High School are all just a short drive from one another and from many of the surrounding neighborhoods. That proximity makes daily drop-offs, pickups, and activities feel much more manageable, especially compared to areas where schools are spread across multiple parts of the city. When you put it all together, what you'll notice about Horace is that it still feels small, but it's laid out in a way that supports how people actually live. Housing, schools, and everyday businesses are close enough that life feels simplified, not scattered, and for a lot of buyers, that ends up being a deciding factor. So, after walking through Horace, the growth, the housing, the neighborhoods, the schools, and what daily life actually looks like, the real takeaway is this: Horace isn't trying to be everything. And that's exactly why it works for the right people. Horace tends to be a great fit if you're looking for newer housing options, a community that's actively growing, schools that are close and intentional, and a residential feel that still keeps you connected to Fargo and the rest of the metro. For a lot of people, moving here is about finding a place that feels less hectic day to day while staying connected. And for many, Horace ends up being where they find their place. At the same time, it's not the right fit for everyone. If you're drawn to older homes on every street, a fully built out city feel, or being right in the middle of downtown activity, another part of the Fargo Metro might feel more like home, and that's okay. Every move is about alignment, not comparison. The reason Horace gets so much attention is because it offers options that didn't exist here even 5 or 10 years ago. And for many people, relocating to the area, that flexibility is what helps them find their place in Horace. If you're considering a move and trying to figure out where you fit, whether that's Horace or somewhere else in the metro, that's exactly what I help people with every day. My contact info is listed below, and I'm happy to talk through your timeline, your priorities, and what actually makes sense for you. And I'd love to hear from you. Based on what you've seen, do you think you could find your place in Horace? Or does another part of the metro feel like a better fit? Let me know in the comments, and we'll see you on the next one.